What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. I had a lot of people continuously asking me through the last few days to cover more stuff on anti-gravity and free energy technology and science. And I seem to have some... Let me switch the audio so it's not all in the left ear. Switch it to the webcam. Uh-oh. Oh, boy. Sorry, I'm streaming right now, buddy. I should give him a call back right now. I was going to get him to come on my podcast, but I want to do a video and just talk about the best anti-gravity technologies I've found to date. As you guys know, I'm following my channel for a while now. Probably about 10 years I've been doing the investigation and research into finding real physics of anti-gravity, searching through all the different lore out there, all the stuff that's ever been probably released going way back. But I got into this probably in the like when I was a kid in high school and middle school and stuff, and I seen Bob Lazar and all that stuff. These guys are all the guys that got me into this, but a lot of that stuff I've moved beyond, and have really gotten on the right path with going to college, getting a degree in technical training in mathematics and science, and having that under my belt to help me understand and be able to interpret a lot more of the stuff out there to find better information. By far the best candidate I've seen so far is metamaterials and warp drive, and building a warp drive out of metamaterials. Of course, this would be incredibly hard to do and incredibly expensive, but it would totally be worth it if we were, if we dump a quarter of what we spend on our military defense budget on these false wars and stuff. I think we could easily fund a laboratory to a large-scale clean room and laboratory to construct and start doing research on metamaterials and building larger and more complex types of metamaterials. Literally materials that are constructed atom by atom using selective isotopes of different atoms and different arrangements of different crystal configurations and lattice arrangements to literally nano-engineer physical materials. And this is the future. When I talk about conspiracies and stuff, you talk about crashes and debris that have been found, and you read real crash reports, real stuff that's been leaked that's out there. Some of the stuff that one chapter that was in Bill Cooper's book with that guy that described that crash site that he was on, where he helped clean up stuff for a secret department that worked with NASA and also the military, and to basically if assuming that these are true stories, the kind of it's interesting, the materials that they describe are these types of materials. It's hard to believe, though, for some people that if an alien craft were that advanced and built out of such complex scientific substances, that how would they crash in the first place? Why are they crashing all over the place? And it seems kind of hard to believe that they'd crash at all with the types of technologies that they would actually, thousands, tens of thousands of years more advanced than us. Everyone making a big deal about that UFOs and the sun and all this UFO nonsense around that New Mexico observatory shutdown, and metamaterials would allow for invisibility, craft to turn completely invisible to light, total invisibility. There's other ways to do it too, active invisibility, cloaking, generating mirage effect. If you look up mirage effect, you can see some examples of these types of technologies and stuff. But yeah, I want to get a couple people going, and I want to get a chat going here and a dialogue going. So I'm going to start I'm going to go ahead and start a Google Hangout again, and I'm going to invite some of my I'm going to invite my buddies to join here, and we'll see if we can get some people. Again, it's crazy what's been going on lately on YouTube with the Facebook censorship, the shadow banning, and just the promotion of what happened with the Google search engines just before 9/11 and on 9/11, and everyone in the movement noticed that too. It was talking about, you start searching for anything related to anything, and all you find is the debunking and disinformation stuff. It's literally someone went and scrubbed, someone in the know went and scrubbed like all the top 3 search results for everything related to anything you search for 9/11, and this happened like on September 10th. All the search results changed over, and you can no longer find a lot of the stuff that used to be there. But I'm going to post a link for people to join if they want to ask some questions and talk about stuff. I got a couple people that I'm actually, there's a lot more going on with research into anti-gravity too. Some of these, one of the best experiments that I've seen in recent times on, I follow all the articles on physics.org and a lot of these other mainstream physics journals and websites to look for specifically for stuff related to testable experiments with gravity or anti-gravity, and this one in particular was really interesting. This is by a guy named David Kaplan or Derek Kaplan. This is here's the oh yeah, this guy.
Hey, can you hear me, Jeremy?
Daniel M. Kaplan. Can you guys hear my guest?
Hold on here, dude.
I think they should be able to hear you. I'm gonna switch you over to my headphones
Where are you at, man?
so that you're not feeding back into my microphone. And but so I'm gonna try to get some more of these professors on, Danny. Oops, Dan left the call. But we could hear you. They could hear you. You were on. And anyone who wants to join the discussion, I just posted a link. I just posted a link there in the live chat. Yes, I can hear you, Dan. Can you hear me? Let me see if he probably can't hear me. Microphone. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Yeah. I was actually doing a live stream, and I noticed that you called. I was thinking about doing inviting you on just to have someone as a guest until we can get so we get some discussion going. What do you think about this experiment right here? Was I found this guy wants to. He's basically using muonium, which is anti-muons. Anti-muons. This molecule formed with an anti-muon and a electron, because the anti-muon has an opposite charge, the same charge as a positron would, and it creates this sort of its own kind of semi-stable atom, because the regular matter electron will only annihilate with its antimatter counterpart, which is a positron. So it won't annihilate with other forms of antimatter. Things will only annihilate with their component antipart. And could you mute your mic real quick, Dan, so I can thanks. This experiment he's trying to do is basically build an interferometer, and he's trying to build an interferometer to test testing antimatter, the gravitational pull of antimatter, and with the theory being, does antimatter also have anti-gravity? Like, is it a push and not a pull? And they're trying to develop ways to test that. So it might be possible to use antimatter, or large clusters of antimatter, which again if you use this muonium, anti-muons, they don't actively annihilate with everything, but they can still be used for a lot of these purposes, because they don't annihilate with anything but muons, and there's not really a lot of muons floating around, so it's not likely you're going to have a huge catastrophic annihilation with large energy releases, as a lot of people have drawn up. Oh, you're going to use antimatter, and it's going to stuff's dangerous. Well, it's only dangerous if it annihilates with its anti-counterpart. So yeah, overall, I think metamaterials and warp drive theory, #1 on the list by far of anything I've ever seen, anything out there, and a lot of top people like Tau Zero Foundation and other top researchers, guys who are real PhDs and probably know a lot more about this than me. I'd love to interview some of these guys. I'm currently in the process of, I wrote to this guy recently, try to get him on for an interview to talk about his experiment there with the muonium. There's another group over in Zurich in Germany here at the at this university in Bern, Zurich, and I can't find the article to it. It was here on the Hubbard Brothers page under the theory section, this bottom link right here, and this was the original PDF. You know what, I'm going to search for the title and see if we can't find it somewhere else if they didn't move it. Search for this. Nope, just that. Here we go. So this is the paper. Yes, we found it. It's moved, and I'll post a link to this in the live chat and in the description of the video so that people can check this out. This experiment, very interesting. University of Bern in ETH in Zurich, the Paul Scherrer Institute. They're basically, using these muonium atoms, anti-muons, antimatter, and trying to test with spectroscopy and interferometry, trying to build an interferometer to test the fields to see if it does in fact have a push and not a pull. But the experiment that I wanted to do with Hubbard Brothers that I was talking about with Ken, which I feel we can at least talk a little bit about that, because this is my own thinking on the subject. He really never shared any of his thoughts, or he said he always told me that he was going to be talking to some of his other colleagues who were experimentalists to get some more ideas and whatnot from them, but never. I don't. This isn't breaking my NDA to really talk about this stuff because this was all public information. It's not related. It's attributable to these people, and it's not proprietary in any way. And this is my own thoughts on the test and the experiment itself. Is that the whole idea is that we're going to test gravity via quantum entanglement. That if you shut off quantum entanglement, does gravity also shut off? And is antimatter a way to shut off entanglement? Does antimatter itself have this sort of strange effects or strange measurable effects on gravity or the gravitational field, which is what they're trying to measure with these interferometers they're building. Yeah, James Woodward, that would be a good guy. Again, I'm gonna take my I hurt my wrist, so I'm out of work. I have tendinitis and stuff. I'm taking a week off to just recover. So I've been putting a lot more time and energy into focusing on my YouTube channel and these other pursuits. So oh, Zurich is in Switzerland. You sure? There's not one. There's like, because York, there's like a York in like every country. Is there a Zurich, Germany? Let me see. Zurich, Germany. Okay, so there's a Zurich, Germany as well. There's also a Zurich, Switzerland, Chile, but there is also a Zurich in Germany. It's a different city with the same name. Sorry. Yeah, these guys too. I want to contact this. This is the team right here. I want to try and get. I'm going to get some emails for these people and see if we can't get someone on for an interview who's a real scientist working on this stuff to give us the inside scoop on what's really going on here in these experiments. So go ahead, Dan. You had it. Let's get some calls, and we had a couple people here that I saw join down there, but I didn't. I think they left. I was hoping that they would Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you. Yes. I think I'm going to end that Google Hangout and hang it up because people seem to have distracting technical difficulties. So, in any case, yeah, the metamaterials and muonium, probably the two best things I've seen so far. Some other interesting things to look at. Entanglement, definitely. Entanglement seems to be a key. A lot of physicists now and you can see on the Facebook page for Hover Brothers, there's a Hover Brothers Facebook page where I've posted like every article I could find, and there's tons of them out there on anti-gravity and negative mass. Cosmologists prove that negative mass can exist within our universe, so that they basically, so it's not outside of Einstein's general relativity laws for there to be a push instead of a pull. You know, you can have these tensors that bow in and have these bubbles that this this curved space-time metric, and it works the same way in reverse according to the math. So yeah. There's nothing in violation there that says that this can't happen. And if you can bend it a little bit, the whole idea is that figure out how it's that process and how do you bend it to the point where you can create those Einstein-Rosen bridges or those wormholes to literally link two distinct points of space that aren't connected, which gets into a whole bunch of other discussions on what type of technology, what's going to happen with technology. I mean, is this possible? Would that be possible? Essentially, that would be creating a portal. And as my UFO and conspiracy side of audience out there all know, there's plenty of stuff going around about portals. People saying that there's hidden portals and that this is what they're working on inside these government programs, that they're basically making opening portals, and that there's a bunch of these portals, and that one of them's under the Denver airport even. That's a theory I heard. It's madness, but yeah, essentially if you were to make an Einstein-Rosen bridge on that level and stretch I'm going to join that back on that call, I guess, because he said I got a couple guys on there now. Back on the call, apparently. So I'm going to join back on that call. What's up, guys? So I'm back, and I want to see. Yeah, I got 4 guys. I see them down here. Anyone have any questions? Anyone have any questions, or I'm going to give you guys the floor and let you ask a question, or well, different types of antimatter. Antimatter only reacts with its matter counterpart. So, positrons only annihilate with electrons. It won't annihilate with a muon or a proton or a neutron or any of these other particles. They only annihilate with their antiparticles. So you can basically take using muons. Muons are a great thing. It's like an electron, but it's a little bit heavier. It's the next stage up if you know your particle science. So these are all what are called leptons in particle physics. And leptons, there's 3 flavors of leptons. They're the regular electron, which is the cat, the muon, which is the lion, and the massive heavy tau, which is the tiger. Well, yeah, it's basically like electrons. You know how the Biefeld-Brown effect has this weird effect, right? That happens when you start building up tons and tons of electrons on a surface of an object. Well, these things are muons. Muons are like an electron, except it's got twice the punch. It's a little bit heavier. They're heavier. They're more massive. So so you're using electrons, but you're not. What you're gonna the idea is you'd want to use not electrons, you'd want to use positrons, but it's really hard to develop that and build up that many positrons, because as soon as they touch an electron, they annihilate and release massive amounts of energy, and it's like literally a small explosion. It's like a small nuclear explosion. So it's really the muons are ideal for this, because they're like an electron, but they got a little bit more punch. They're a little bit heavier. And so the anti-muons is a perfect candidate for this, because they don't react with normal matter, so it's not going to annihilate and destroy anything. If an experiment's not going to get out of control if you start building up mass amounts of muons and then they suddenly release for some reason. You know what I mean? They're not going to react with anything. They're just going to kind of fizzle out. Yeah, I've seen that. This is the Feld Brown effect lifter that right. This is one of a secret craft that they developed, right? Where right. No, I agree that this was a real experiment, and it's based on Feld Brown effect. But there's a lot of people who said that also that think that this whole thing was a kind of like also a cover, because they called it the alien reproduction vehicle, and that it was like that they developed this was one of the side projects where they were really work. I mean, they work on all kind. They don't have all their. Yeah, this is definitely more credible than the Lazar story. Interesting. Yeah. Well, they also have these tanks in here, which could, you know, are they all oxygen, or some of them might be hydrogen or other types of.
Because electricity does produce its own.
Can you guys hear him better now too?
Field.
Oh, they can't hear. They can't hear you. They couldn't hear you on Skype before. I had to switch the audio, dude.
Go up to the colored drawing. Let me see something once. Is it mine?
I hope that it said it part of it was registering, but I had to switch this. I hate how things just switch on me. I updated this.
There's a movie. It's called the Mark McCandlish ARV Flux Liner. It's on YouTube. I'd suggest anybody watch it. I believe if anything out there is real, it's this. It electrically makes sense.
Yeah, but again, as someone pointed out, you know, you'd have to have like basically this thing would have to be a Faraday cage, the pilot's seat, to protect you from that 10 millions of volts of high.
That's why they're in the sphere. There's a
Yeah.
separate sphere on the top. Go to the colored picture. That sphere is completely separate from the bottom portion.
Yeah.
You're isolated in there, and it's got lead.
And this whole thing right
Sodium lead.
here, this whole thing, what it shows like these, stratified, almost like fans, or like grates and like a.
Those are the capacitor plates.
So there's a capacitor plates. There's just a whole bunch of them.
Yep. Yes.
What does it build up a super huge capacitance? And all right. That's basically what the Bifeld-Brown effect was. He was noticing, he was building asymmetrically induced capacitors and noticed an effect to the force that was applied when he was.
There's guys that go back the whole way to the 50s say this design was in effect back then.
So
notice you don't see flying saucers.
So these are alternating layers of metal plates and a dielectric material to make to build a capacitor. As people know.
Really cool.
So you guys can look up capacitor and dielectrics. Yeah. Hey. Oh, we got another. Someone else. Well.
Yeah. I'm not an expert in this field, but I just have a question because I heard about Lockheed Martin. They have a patent on compact fusion. So I just want to know, what are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, Lockheed has a patent on Lockheed compact fusion. I have not heard of this, and we're going to look it up right now. So,
some compact fusion reactor.
Oh, really? That's part of the Skunk Works. This is a Skunk Works project, huh?
Yeah.
So,
recent.
Great. Perfect time to switch to talking about energy technologies. This is fusion is the top. If I were to rate any, there's lots of free energy devices and technologies that are put out there, and I think 99% of the stuff that you see out there is disinformation. This doesn't. This just by my first look at it, fusion energy is the most is an actual energy source. It's within the laws of physics. It doesn't break the law of physics or say that Einstein and all the physics is wrong and my theory is correct, even though I can't demonstrate it experimentally in front of real skeptics. Like there's interesting stuff going on with fusion and ways to create it outside of conventional means, and I wonder what this is all about, but this looks like there's some intellectual property. So, physics professor and director of UK's National Fusion Laboratory, Steve Cowley, called for more data, pointing out that the current thinking in fusion research is that bigger is better. Yeah, of course. They've been building tokamaks since the 1950s and getting billions of dollars in funding, and if suddenly Skunk Works created a reactor that worked better than that, then there goes all their funding, and they basically, hey, sorry, Steve Charles Cowley, but you wasted your entire career building tokamaks and trying to build large scale hot fusion reactors, and it's just sad because they really they've sucked up so much of the funding for fusion in those types of programs, and really taking it away from other researchers, which I think would probably benefit from some of that funding better.
Jeremy, can you hear me now? Hello, testing.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, my mic was bad for some reason. Okay, I'm going to mute again. Sorry.
All right, we got you. Though, yeah, that's definitely a cool thing. This is the kind of stuff that I would expect to see too. Is they would definitely be interested in building fusion reactors or compact fusion reactors that could be put on board. Things smaller than an aircraft carrier. But
it's just what I just have. The question is like, do you think they're actually going to go through with it and actually create this compact fusion reactor?
I don't know. Anything's possible. They might have already done it. We just don't know about it yet. You have to think about that. I think it could be done. This seems like an interesting thing that they're using these two other side nodes to kind of pump the central reactor core here. It looks like so. That seems to be their concept that they're showing here.
I mean, everything is public. They're going out. It's like in mainstream like reporting. So I'm just like I'm kind of surprised.
Well,
I would expect this stuff to be top secret or something.
right, right. I would expect it to be too. It's gonna if it does exist, and I'm pretty sure it does, and it's locked away in black project somewhere, whether it's this or something else. It's got to come out eventually, and I mean, whole thing with fossil fuels is, as everyone knows, is that they're not sustainable and they're not going to last forever, and they're also potentially destroying the planet. I know a lot of people disagree with the science on CO2. It seems, but as far as I'm concerned, it wouldn't hurt to reduce our emissions and the amount of pollution and gas that we're carbon that we're basically putting back into our atmosphere.
Of course.
It's a very dangerous experiment. Whether no matter who's right or who's wrong, it's a dangerous experiment to be playing with the oceans boiling off and all the ice caps melting and everyone. All this talk about all the predictions Al Gore made and all these people made, none of them have come true, and all this stuff about global warming, and you're gonna wait till it's too late, until it could happen catastrophically. I mean, they seem to be scaring people into this whole money making scheme with it, as politicians would be expected to do, but.
You do realize the reason why they're talking all this bullshit about?
It's the oil companies. They make tons of money, and they've been caught paying off scientists and hiring scientists to write papers discrediting global warming, and they've paid off a lot of the journalists and a lot of the. They've also bought out a lot of the conspiracy theorists that control opposition and spread a lot of these conspiracy theories specifically to cater to that underground mind scheme mentality, which they've used to subvert and draw a lot of. But it's a dangerous experiment to be playing with our Earth either way. And the thing is, fossil fuels aren't sustainable. It's doing horrible things to the environment and just.
I heard even the fossil fuel companies themselves, who they did internal investigations, and they themselves found out that that global warming, or actually climate change, is a real thing.
Well, my kid's crying outside in the hallway, and I